Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome to the Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio Show. I'm Derek Asklar, and Mr. Craig Talley's on the line there. We'll be hosting the show tonight. Just wanted to welcome everybody tonight and let you know we're going to have open lines again tonight. And we kind of do that more often than not because our topics change so fast and the format and everything. So we kind of go with the flow of it all. But if you want to call in with a topic that you want to talk about, call in at 352-504-4170, and we'll get you on the air, and you can bring up a topic or whatever you want to talk about, and we'll do that. We're also on chat right here. You can get to chat just by going to Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio on Spreaker.com, hitting the comment button. I think you have to be logged in for that, but it don't cost nothing. You can get on chat right there. We already got Bill Marsh on there, Ohio Relic Hunter. And, of course, we have another show going on at the same time, so catch us on the replay or what have you. It doesn't matter. And we all have, there's several metal detecting shows on Spreaker right now, but we all run different formats, so it's all good. But Craig, shoot, why don't I let you start out, because we were talking just a few minutes before the show, guys, and Craig was talking about a few things, and Craig, I know you were on the show Monday night, right, for All Metal Mode?
Oh yeah, I was on All Metal Mode. We had I don't know how long he normally does the show, but we had 2 hours.
Oh my God!
It was funny. I talked a little bit about the Bliss tool, but then I just started telling stories and stuff, and they wanted to know what my best finds were, and I said,
the normal things.
Yeah, but they were kind of shocked on because I have found some pretty cool stuff over the years, but in the middle of it. They were looking at chat, and they said, "Hey, Bill wants you to tell him how you stole this $50 from him, one of his sites." So I went into that, and about the seat at Liberty I found. But it was pretty good, and we talked off beforehand and stuff, and they seemed like pretty good guys. The other guy's name's Matt. I can't remember what his last name was, but they're up here in Ohio.
Yeah.
And so then what was it? Today I got I'm on Patreon with Stealth Diggers, and they had a lottery thing, and I won. I got one of those mini pry bars, the little steel pry bar, and cut with it and all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. So you can actually cut through, roots, pretty good sized roots with it, and so that was pretty cool. They have all these giveaways, and you never, nobody. I rarely ever won anything.
Yeah.
Every
once in a while I do. Every once in a while. Every 2 or 3 years.
And then I was talking to my good buddy Tim Glick, and he was asked to be on the USA team, and basically they going to be promoting the machines and different things, and he did a bunch of photos today where he was standing I think over at the Ohio, some historical place, or the state house or something like that in Ohio, and he was standing in different things holding his dais. That was pretty cool. So he's also been using these elliptical coils, the white ones, and he said he's gone over sites and gotten signals that were only 2 inches deep that he's been over and over and over before. And,
good target separation then, yeah.
Yeah, I think the frequency and everything, and so he says they're coming out with new coils, and I guess they're going to have this 5.0 program now, and they got 4.1 right now, I believe it is. But this 5.0 will further, it'll be allowed to get all these new coils, and then they're going to have like the ones they got now, the elliptical coils and stuff, and the round ones that are white. I guess they're they're all white in color, so now they're going to come out with black ones, and they're going to have a 13-inch, so they'll have a much bigger coil.
So they have they have an 8 and 11, and now coming out with a 13, right?
Yeah, they had 11 by 13, but it was heavy, real heavy.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't go any deeper, really, than the 9-inch from what I was hearing, but it just gives you better ground, coverage.
Right.
Hit the targets a little bit harder, but Tim said that that these new coils, the technology is starting to go into the coils too now.
Right. And with a Deus too, you're feeding off the coil anyways, because that's where you charge it at, right? On a Deus.
Well,
that's essentially where the electronics is.
It's electronics and the batteries in the coil.
Right.
So, and then now I guess the newer coils are going to have like you can pop the battery in and out.
Oh, that'd be helpful.
Fairly easily instead of having to peel it open, I think. So I got to get the one in mine changed sometime.
Yeah.
I've had mine over 5 years now. And
I guess Tim is tearing it up, though, isn't he? He's doing pretty good, and that's good. I mean, I know he had some health stuff going on. I'm glad he's getting healthier and everything.
That's another thing. He had a checkup the other day, and he was all worried about his heart, and he's had some major stuff happen to him over the years.
Yeah.
And he's been taking care of himself a lot better, and
good.
He's even been riding a bicycle. For exercise.
My hat's off to you, brother. Tim, ride your ass off. I can't do that anymore.
but anyway, he sounded a lot better on the phone and everything. And
good.
We've been friends for about 6 years or something. We've been talking on the phone and stuff. Mm-hmm. And what was it? I think he's going to be going to England to do a hunt, and they got like 1,000 acres, farm Roman stuff and all and stuff like that. So
he's going to have a ball.
Exciting.
Yeah, he's going to have a ball.
Yeah.
I wish I was going.
But, yeah. Let's see what else. I guess these newer coils are going to be even higher frequencies and stuff. So they're doing some more. Tim told me that one of the round, I don't know if it's elliptical round white coils he has. He went on the site and he found some really cool stuff at 2 and 3 inches that the other machines didn't, or the other coils didn't hear because he's always used the Deus.
Well, a substantial target separation, and that's what I would think.
Yeah. So I think these higher frequencies tend to knock out the. You're talking like some of them are going up to like 44 kilohertz. So
right.
That's probably knocking out most of the iron pretty good.
I'd be interested to see. I thought about
the signal out.
Yeah, but I was kind of thinking about when you told me before the show about the same topic about the finding stuff at 2 and 3 inches down there. You went over the area already, and all of a sudden there's a signal there. I was kind of curious. When you talk to him next time that happens, in an area where he's used to, tell him put that thing in all metal and just to see what else is in that hole that was causing it to. If there is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Well, I mean, it is because this is a heavy iron area.
Right.
There's just a lot of nails and all kinds of stuff in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows the performance of the new
most of the sites he hunts over there, are old houses that aren't, they're not there anymore. It's just a field now. But
I've hunted several ones with them, and it's interesting that. A higher frequency, bigger coil but it's able to pull up that stuff. That's why I was wondering. I mean, it's obviously in there with something. I was just curious what it was. If it was iron or if it was like a chunk of aluminum or, that's something I can't really speculate on. I was kind of curious about it more than anything else. But what would cause it to, not be able to get a signal on that shallow target like that, just so he knows too, to help him out a little bit too, where you can kind of maybe make some adjustments with the smaller coil to be able to accommodate for that, if it's even possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to help out a little bit longer, out a little bit farther, because obviously there's more stuff there if he's finding stuff. But he has some trashy sites.
Yeah.
I know that one site was horrendous with iron. I went to with
Well,
him.
he said pretty much all of them are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is, and
Yeah.
I don't know. He's had a lot of different machines, that he's used, and he said, the Deus just, far and away is the best in that kind of conditions. But and he uses full tones. He said a lot of guys don't, So I like full tones myself, Tim. That's what I always used, and
I agree with you
he
on
doesn't
that.
really. He also doesn't go by the meter much. He just listens, and if it, if he can hear it repeating, then you dig it.
Yeah.
And he said, he digs. He said, I call myself the junk man, and I said, yeah, you've been doing that for a couple of years. And he goes, yeah. He said, the more junk you dig up, he said, I know it's a horseshoe, and I still dig it up because there might be something underneath of it or next to it.
Absolutely.
And I said, yep. I said, that way you don't have to, come back over and then maybe try to get a signal and pick it up again, get it out of the way. And, eventually you clean the site up to where you start finding more, better stuff.
Right.
And, but especially when it's got to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
A house from the 1850s or 60s or even earlier,
Got to be
it
something.
was there for a long time. So, but it's kind of, it was kind of fun getting together, back talking to him again. We used to talk a lot back 4 or 5 years ago. I got him. He was a little bit apprehensive with the Deus at first, and I kept, walking him through it and telling him, showing him how to do it a little bit over the phone, and
Yeah.
he's gotten good with it.
Yeah. I got a chance to hunt with him in 2015, I think it was, or 16, for 4 days, something like that, different places. Good guy. I mean, Tim, we hunted for a while. We didn't find, fantastic stuff, but I mean, we found, period kind of stuff. But I mean, he has a lot of different fields, and all the fields he hunts, or at least the ones I saw, they plant them and they plow them, and it kind of rejuvenates some of that stuff, some of those areas, those fields and stuff, just by plowing. They like chisel plow around there. It's like really deep plowing. So he's blessed with a site that keeps on giving a little bit. He can probably hunt every single year and find more stuff. It's a good thing. I mean, it's not as abundant, but he finds some cool stuff up there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I guess his dad's a sheriff, and he was telling his dad, he's looking for spots and stuff, and he goes, spots? I'll get you spots. So now you got like 5,000 acres.
Oh my God, he'll be hunting for the rest of his life out there. That's a good thing.
Yeah. That's pretty funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Knock on the door with your dad, hey, can I hunt your yard?
Well, I know how that is too. I mean, you get
man.
these spots that are they have the time frame or whatever, the age is there, but you get stuff gets blended up so bad and covered with modern junk, and it can be pretty daunting. They took me to one site up there, and I swear to God, there was a nail every half inch. I mean, he said he even told me himself he dug a couple Indian heads, but they were only like 2 inches down. There was so much iron. It was 10 times worse than your yard, Craig, up in Alexandria, or down in Alexandria for you. But it was just, man, I tell you, it was total noise. I mean, I could discriminate it out, but then you're losing depth like crazy when you use that much discrimination and stuff. But using that full tones,
Well, you don't worry about depth in a site like that.
right?
You
You
can't.
know, you got to dig what you can
Better to
dig.
just- I've pulled stuff out of my yard by going way down on
Hmm.
sensitivity and stuff. So I've gone down to like 2 and no gain, or maybe 6, all that maybe 0.6 gain.
Right.
And man, I was getting soft signals. So I was actually getting signals popping out of the ground
Hmm.
through the nails.
Less is more. That's what
sometimes-
we've always said. Less is more.
Sometimes when you pump it up, it also pumps those nails up.
Yeah.
And starts them, they start hitting a little bit, every once in a while. But
Hmm.
I've been playing around with, now what I do is I just adjust. I try to keep the threshold as high as I can. And
Right.
Then if it's noisy, I just back off on the gain until it quiets up most of the time now.
Hmm. Yeah, makes
But,
sense.
I got a dog tag in my yard. It wasn't anything old. It was a male dog tag from Virginia, 1993.
Hmm.
But, it was in an area right along the fence that I'd hunted, God, I've been probably over there 50 times more.
25 years old, brother.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Yeah, that was funny. I was thinking, God, 25 years already since 1993.
Yeah.
Jeez. Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When they get older. It should be the other way around.
Oh, yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah. I actually
Oh, man.
finally got out to that bridge site, the toll bridge property, the 450-acre property. I've been wanting to hunt for so long, and I went out there on Sunday. Met him at. Well, I think I told him on the show that I was going to do it. Be out there at 7:00, and I sure enough was, with bells on, so to speak, and went in there and hunted from 7:00 in the morning until I think it was 2:30 or something like that before I came on. I probably stopped for a total of a half an hour the whole time, and Craig, I detected my butt off trying to find stuff, and I did find actually a bolt and the square nut that they had put the bridge together with in the 1850s or something like that, or earlier. It was a wooden bridge there before that, but I mean, this is the actual bridge bolt, and another piece. I think it was for one of the cables, some kind of a cable or a chain they were using as a. I think it was part of the, not a suspension bridge, but it was something like that. Anyways, I found a couple parts there about 30 foot up from the water. Found a ton of like shotgun shells really deep. I mean, we're talking, they were so rotted away that, one of them just said it didn't even say number 12 or 12 gauge. It just had a 12 on it. I mean, that has to be considerably older than what I found, because every one I found, it usually has a number 12 or a 12, 12 Georgia with 12 GA. So they're quite old, but they were about, I think, 9 or 10 inches down, somewhere in that area. I was using the Quest Pro out there, and I ran for a while at I was running at, I think it's 5 kilohertz. Don't quote me on that. I just can't remember. It's a lower kilohertz on the frequency. And then I went to 13 kilohertz, and that seemed to work better for me in that area. But, I found all kinds of weird it's pretty much junk, washers. And, I had a good one, Craig. I dig down, and I get the signal. I dig down there, and I see silver at the bottom of the edge, and it looked just like a $50. I mean, the way the dirt was on it, it looked like, it had it was silver. And like, all right, finally got a good coin. And I reached out and pick it up, and it's a stainless steel freaking washer. I was like, oh my God, I got fooled big time. And the thing was deep too. I was pretty impressed with that Quest. Everything I hit, it was solid. I dug some marginals, but I knew they were probably going to be junk, but they had a little weird tweak in there. So it was repeatable. A lot of chunks of aluminum, a lot of brass chunks, not anything real great. I did dig a I think it's Stoller it's a carburetor, top of a carburetor for not a gravity fed carburetor. It's a weird kind. I think it's for a Model T. I'm not positive on that, but on it had a plate on the top. It's brass, dug it like 14, 15 inches down. It was like, it's like I see it on the bottom of the hole, and I almost thought it was a doggone breastplate for a minute because it just had that. It's about the same size as a breastplate would be. And, I dug it down and I just started wiping the dirt off of it a little bit. And it has a plate on there. It even has a date on there, January 31st, January 31st, 1922. So I've got almost 100 years back anyways. But I got done hunting around where the bridge embankment was, where the bridge would have been, where they drove up on it. And I did that from there. And it's like about maybe, I want to say 30 foot to the house from there. I did around most of the house. I didn't really go crazy because they have some rock that they put in as a pathway or whatever. It's like that red lava rock crap. They put some of that in. But I got done doing this for, I don't know, we'll say 5-6 hours or whatever. I am soaked, man. I drank like 8 bottles of water. It's over 100 degrees out there, heat index. And when I got done hunting, even when I got home, the only part of me that was even remotely dry was from my calves down to my boots. I mean, Craig, my wallet was, I could almost wring water out of a leather wallet. It was, I forgot about the wallet in my pocket. That's one thing I never even thought about before. But, I hunted. I told Pauline I was going to be gone for I said, I'm probably going to be gone for like 3, maybe 4 hours because I'm literally not even a mile away from this place. And, I'll be home. And she goes, well, I didn't see you I started at 7. She goes, I didn't see you at 11, 12, 1. I finally come in about 2:30. And she goes, my God, were you swimming in the river or something? I said, no. I said, I just sweat. It's hot out here. And, even the landowner said, man, you better stop. I said, I got this, and I take my little break here and there. And I was fine, actually. I thought I could have hunted some more, actually. I was getting more. I was digging so many targets. I kind of got wore out a little bit, obviously. But, I just didn't know. I couldn't stop myself. I hadn't hunted in so long. It was just like, God, I got to keep on going until I find something good, which I found some kind of cast iron. I don't even know what it is. It's about a 1.5 feet across. I think it's part of a wood burner or some kind of an old cast iron chair. It looks like it had bolts through it, so I don't know if it bolted onto something else. I'll have to put a picture of it up. Yeah, I found that, the bridge parts, I did find, some period stuff, but I only found a nickel at 8 inches down. It was a 1952, something like that, nickel, and I found a couple regular Lincoln pennies. They were all from 1971. They weren't that deep at all, but the landowner shows up because the land keeper or whatever, the landlord let me on the property early, and it was the landowner shows up and I get to talking to him. He goes, well, we did scrape from here to here, and we scraped this and that. So they scraped they were trying to fill in where the water erosion was, where the water had been going for so many years down towards the river. They were kind of pushing dirt. So they had scraped the whole area I hunted mostly was scraped. So now I got to chase down where it ended up at. There's got to be good stuff, but I made the decisions Sunday morning about 5:30 in the morning. I said, I'm just going to take the Quest 40 and the Quest Pro out there, and I'm going to use both of them and see what happens. Because most of you guys know I'm really into Bliss Tool. I know the stuff, the detector really good and everything. And Craig, I kind of kicked myself in the butt a little bit, but I had to try this Quest Pro. I've been hunting with it a little bit here and there, but I was pretty impressed with it. I think that I'm dealing with a bunch of stuff that's masked and deep items. The shotgun shells, like I said, were eroded so bad. They were so gone that it was literally, even the primers were gone out of them. So they were really rotted bad, but they were also really deep. So I probably should have taken even the V3 would have done very good, I think, because I'm almost positive there's deeper stuff. It just I was hunting in the wrong spot. I didn't. He never said anything about scraping the property or anything like that. And of course, I couldn't tell because now there's grass growing and stuff like that. It doesn't look like anything is wrong with it or that it has ever been scraped. So I kind of got caught up into that mess a little bit. But I have faith yet. I know there has to be stuff there. Just too many years. I mean, we got dates back to 1820. Somebody had to have lost an Indian head somewhere along the way. You know what I'm saying? There has to be some good stuff there. I just got to move away from the house. I'm going to hunt it again with the Bliss tool, but I'm going to take and move out far, about 40, 50 feet from the house and work my way out either side and out into the field. Because I did find a hard pack, and I talked about, I think there was another building there or something. I did find like where they have packed a lot of rock, Sumter County rock, you know, the limestone rock, small pieces probably about the size of a baseball and stuff, all through that area. I couldn't even put the shovel in the ground. That's how packed it is in I'd say about a 40-foot by 40-foot area. So I think I found where there was a barn or a house or some kind of a dwelling right there about 196 feet from the house that's there now. And it's further out into the field. So the next trip I'm going to do is I'm going to hunt all around that area of that foundation or whatever it is, and kind of work my way around there. Because, I know there has to be stuff. There's no doubt about it. And he was even telling me that he thinks the Stagecoach Road, when it left his property, went straight out into the field and then cut over, not the way we come in. This is like a mile drive back into this place and windy and everything else. So I did see a lot of wildlife. Saw 20 or 30 deer, wild turkey babies, the mama and the babies all following behind her. The little Bambi deer that hangs out around their house, it jumped out at me, scared the crap out of me. I wasn't ready for it. Had my earphones on and stuff, and it ran right by me, like maybe a foot away. It was something, it was small. I mean, it didn't like scare me that bad, but I mean, it was something that wasn't normal. So it ran by. Plenty of wildlife. It was beautiful out there. I mean, I enjoyed the heck out of just being out there. So we're going to hit it again probably on. I'm going to try to get out there on Saturday and see if I can get back out on there now that I've been out there and met the owner and everything and talked with him. But he told me, he said, yeah, he scraped that property right there. And I was also thinking that it's so close to the river. This place is like about maybe 30 foot from the river. Whenever you get up on shore, and it very easily, anybody in the last 25 years could have jumped out of a John boat or airboat or whatever else and hunted that portion I was hunting. So I figure I wasn't getting, well, it's hard to explain the sections, but this one particular section, I was hardly getting anything. And it was blowing my mind because this was like right in path with the bridge. So it very well could have, somebody could have pounded Nighthawk that place. The owners had it for 25 years. So, I'm hoping that it was long ago so that, I'll have a better chance of finding something through there. But I'm gonna grab the V6 and hit it with that 11, maybe even the 7x9, just kind of punch. I'd probably go with the 11-inch coil, Craig, to be honest with you. I don't know. That's my standby coil. I always like the 11-inch anyway. And to see what I can get out of there, I think it'll turn out to be pretty good. But the signs are there. I mean, like I said, I'm finding stuff 100 years old anyways. So, it's not that far of a stretch to go 50 more years anyways. So we'll see how it turns out. But I had fun. I guess that's what all that really matters anyways. But, man, I was whooped by the time I got back, though. I said, I think I've done my time today. I tell you, water just rolling off me. And, I've been kind of acclimating myself, if it's even possible, like staying outside more in this real hot weather, working outside and everything, and to build up my kind of endurance to that kind of heat. Because my niece was just down here. They went down to, my sister came down and took the kids to Disney World and all that stuff down here. And heck, one of the kids, my niece, didn't have heat stroke, but she almost passed out because of the heat. So I mean, it's a real prevalent thing right now, probably in a lot of places in July and August. But just drink a lot of water.
It's gotten kind of hot around here, but humidity isn't quite as bad as it was in Alexander because we were right near the river. But Um, it's actually we've had pretty nice weather this week, last week, but we might have this stuff called hogweed in my yard. I don't know. I don't know if I told you about that. It's like this plant that you get this resin on you from these hairs, and it'll anywhere it touches, it'll take the melanin completely out of your skin.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you get sun exposure, it'll literally put blisters like I've seen them like 2-3 inches high on people's
Yep.
arms, and their whole hands just look all swelled up and everything. But I'm kind of thinking it's not, but
Hey.
you got to be careful because you don't want to touch this stuff. But
No doubt about it. I've had burns, Craig, at 2nd and 3rd degree. I was in a truck wreck and got burned up my left arm and my back. And I'll tell you what, when they say 2 or 3 inch blister, that's like almost a 3rd degree burn.
it is a 3rd degree burn.
Yeah,
from this.
I've had them
And
on my arms.
And once you get it on you, depending on how bad, then you'll be photoact. I guess every time you get exposed to the sun, up to 10 years later, it'll do the it'll
do the
like
same.
that.
Really?
Yeah, because wow, this stuff is bad, and if it gets in your eyes, it causes temporary blindness up to permanent blindness.
Well, don't burn this stuff, Craig. Seriously. I mean, you hear about
Well,
people, burn this, burn that. Don't burn it, man. It get in your lungs. Oh, my God.
Mike wants to, cut it down and then get the root out of dig the root up. But I don't know. I was thinking Roundup.
Well, tell you what I do with stuff around here, I round up the crap out of it. Let it die, let it get brown, fall over, then dig the root up where you can see where the stem went in the ground. Dig up that stuff. Just I don't know. Find some place to put it, man. Don't burn it though. I mean, it's like burning poison ivy or poison oak or whatever. You don't want to breathe that stuff in and get it on you because you can still get. It can really mess you up. And not to mention sumac. I mean, that stuff. Some people are allergic to that stuff. Some people aren't. Apparently. I'm so viciously allergic to it. I hate the stuff. I got it on me the other day, mowing the lawn and weed whipping, and I got it up on my legs. I was out there in shorts like an idiot. Usually I always wear jeans and boots, and I probably should have done that. And I went down the fence line, and it's coming through the neighbor's property there and got me in the leg, man. I thought it was chiggers at first. That's what it reminded me of. But I was also weed whipping, so the little particles got on me. And I'm like, God, what an idiot I am sometimes. Pauline said, well, you know better than that. I said, I know. I just wanted to get the yard done so I can get out metal detecting the next day, So, yeah, be careful of that hogweed, man. I wouldn't. Like you said, kill it to the ground and then dig out the roots and put it somewhere, let it fully decompose, and I don't know what to do with it after that, but just don't tell him to grab a hold of it or nothing like that, man. You mess him up bad. Sounds like, anyway.
Yeah, well, we've been looking on the internet and stuff, and he knows about it. We were like, oh my God, this stuff is bad. There's a lot of videos from over in England, and it was brought over from Asia to that area because it looks really cool with the white flowers and everything.
Right.
It grows like 14 feet and higher in one season. And that's the other thing. This thing came out of this forsythia bush. I couldn't even see it, and then within a week, it's 2 feet above the bush.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's like that.
I was like, whoa. When Mike pointed it out, I said, yeah, I kind of saw that the other day, but I didn't really think anything of it. And then he was like, I don't know, that might be that hogweed stuff. And there was a kid near that was landscaping here in Virginia. I don't think he was, maybe 40 miles away from us.
Mm-hmm.
And he got into some of that stuff, and all of a sudden, it was all over his face and arms. He was in major problems, had to go to the hospital. Some people get in critical condition almost from it. So that's crazy.
Yeah, there's some wicked stuff out there.
I've never heard of it until this year.
No, I never heard of it either until you said something about it. I started looking it up. I'm like, God, this stuff is vicious stuff. Excuse me. Yeah,
And now it's another thing to worry about in the woods.
no, I'm telling you, man, it's just there's dangers everywhere, but that's part of the thrill of it, I guess. They got these. I was hunting up with their Tom Bunch and Bill Pendergrass up there in Tennessee, and they introduced me to the Jesus tree. That thing, I wish I'd gotten better photos of it. This thing had like 2-inch long spikes on it, these thorns everywhere on it. And I said, Jesus tree. He goes, yeah, because it looks like the crown of thorns, It's like, I said, just either that or you'll say that word when you run into it and go, oh, Jesus. Getting poked by it or whatever. It was pretty intimidating.
Yeah, really.
Look, I was we have pretty aggressive thorny plants down here, like the sand spurs and stuff like that. But, I hadn't seen a tree like that down here anyways. I'm sure they're around. They got choker trees and everything else down here. I mean, they'll choke out a palm tree, full-size palm tree, and kill it. I mean, that's how strong these viney things are. I think I put a couple pictures up on Facebook. We were hunting down at Fort DeSoto Park, and my mom was standing by to, so I'm going to get a picture of that. It fully engulfed a palm tree and killed it. And then there was another one that was just growing around it, and they choke all the life out of it. Just plants can be more vicious than insects, I think. There's a lot of them out there that are pretty bad. I'm sure they might do a good thing somewhere, but I don't know what that hogweed will do other than just cause problems. But yeah, we had Nelson was on here on chat here. He said you just watched a video about the Knox not giving a detectable signal over a hoard of silver. That doesn't sound good to me. No pun intended. But he said it
might be that overload. It might be that overload.
Yeah. They did test it on a roll of silver quarters, and it came up. But when you're dealing with a huge target, like depending on how big the horde was, I haven't watched the video. He put it up on chat. With youtube.com/watch V equals HG6Q, capital Q, by the way, D3A. So if you guys want to go over there and click on that or copy it and paste or whatever, you can see the video. I'm interested in see that too, because that's one thing I didn't have to deal with the Bliss tool. I mean, if it's non-ferrous or iron or whatever, it's going to give you a repeatable signal and tell you what it is, or it's going to spit on it or grunt or whatever. But when you're dealing with a lot of the other VLFs, it something so big as a hoard of coins, even if it was a big pile of iron, I think it would give off the same signal. Am I right, Craig? I mean, I think the Deus will even do that, won't it? Have you ever tried that or?
No.
Yeah.
No, I've gone over pipes and stuff, huge ones, and
right.
It just makes a signal, but
well, it's good to know.
overload.
Yeah, I didn't get I don't know, the Quest Pro and the Quest 40. The only time they've ever given me an overload is like if the quarter's laying on the ground. If you lay a quarter on the ground and you go like within a quarter of an inch of it, or maybe a half an inch, it'll give you kind of like that siren sound or whatever. But as soon as you lift the coil up just a little bit, it gives you a repeatable VDI, whatever it might be. But I've had detectors where, man, if it's a can in the ground, 7-8 inches down into the ground, and you can lift the coil up to your knee and still get an overload. There's every machine, I think, has its quirks on that. I can't remember on the Whites machine I had, it would overload on some stuff, and it gets annoying because I just want to know what it is. I want to know if it's a big piece of brass or a big piece of iron. But a hoard of silver coins, that, I don't know. It seems to me that I don't know. I'll have to watch a video, I guess, and just make a judgment call. But if Nelson says it's overloading, it's overloading. On a big target like that, I don't like that overload part of it. I know it's not something they plan into the detector, I don't think. I have had a couple detectors that were so annoying with that I probably won't ever use them because they weren't designed for what I want to hunt. It's not just a relic hunting machine. It's more of a park machine or something like that. That's the way I feel about it anyways, where you're just kind of finding coins or little doodads in the ground, at a park or something. But as far as a relic machine, it's very important to, even the big iron signals I got, that's how I got the big bridge bolt, and the bracket went with it. and it gave me actually it gave me a signal with the Quest Pro because that's why I dug it. It was like a 92 or something like that. I knew it was probably going to be some kind of piece of junk in a way because it, usually like, I think it's like 78, 79 is where a penny rings up. And then 81, 82 is a dime. I think quarter's like 86, 87, something like that. So it got up into the 90s. And I'm like, but it was repeatable. But it never gave me an overload on it. It was only about maybe 4 inches into the ground. This nut on here is probably about 2 inches. It's a square nut, but it's 2 inches along the edge where you put the wrench on there, and it's about an inch thick. So it was, that's just the bolt or the nut. It was actually had a bracket, some kind of a bracket washer thing on there, and of course the rod or whatever, the bolt for it, and it never overloaded on it. It gave me a signal, and I knew it was probably going to be iron, but I dug it anyways. It could have been it could have been aluminum or something like that too, I guess. But I felt pretty comfortable with it not overloading on it as far as that goes. So, I don't know. It depends. It probably depends on what settings they were running on the Nox too. I guess that'd be a question for maybe Evan or Sam or even I think Mark Hoover has one too. One of those Equinox machines from Mine Lab. Get with a couple guys and kind of see what they're finding with it or what they're having, if they're having that same issue with the bigger targets overloading like that. It maybe just be a setting thing. I hope it is. Hope it gets in there and doesn't do it all the time though.
Well, don't they have like park settings and field settings and stuff like that?
Yeah, that field and park.
Maybe you could switch it into a different mode, one of those modes, and it might do it.
Yeah, run.
Be interesting to see.
Yeah, because you don't want to miss a hoard of silver. That wouldn't be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess these machines. I think it just depends on. Well, the frequency number one. I think you can run. They run several different frequencies on that Equinox or singly. I don't. It just all depends on the settings too. But yeah, it's not a good sign when it overloads on a hoard of silver. It's kind of what you're after. But
oh man,
God. But yeah, I've been slam busy all week long. I got a couple detectors and I had to work on and put batteries in and stuff, and I got one more I got to do yet. Get them back to the people. But I think a lot of guys are. I mean, it's so doggone hot. We're getting out, but I don't know. You've been out. I mean, is it? How long are you able to stay out before you just kind of say heck with it?
Well, actually, we go out kind of like in the evening and like 4:35 somewhere around there and hunt for an hour or two. But it's actually as soon as that sun goes down, then it's kind of nice because there's no humidity or very little right now. But when the sun's straight on you, the humidity's been down. I mean, we had so much rain a couple of months. It's kind of nice not to have any humidity for a while now, but the bugs are terrible. Oh man, I had to put, bug spray all over me just to hunt for an hour last night.
I thought they'd be worse here. I mean, up by the river and stuff, but I only had like 2 mosquitoes try to get me. That was it. I was surprised because we've had so much rain and humidity and miserable hot.
Well, usually you have the mosquitoes. We had so much standing water for weeks.
Right.
That's where the mosquitoes breed. So.
Yeah, I want to get down there by the water, but I went down by where the bridge, where it drops off into the river right there, the embankment right there, and started walking down there, and I look in the corner of my eye, see something move, and it's a 10-foot gator about maybe 20 feet from me. I'm like, I think I'm going to hold off on this for a little while because I wanted to get into the water right there and kind of go along the shore at least, but it's breeding season for these gators. I'm not going to antagonize this one. He just kind of eyeballing me a little bit, but I'm like a big old piece of prime rib to him, I'm sure. But that's about the only critter, as far as in the river. It's kind of neat the way it was on Sunday. It had this. It's like not algae, but like pollen. I guess it's like a green pollen on the river, and you can see the river flowing north. It's a lazy river, so it's not real fast. And then I started seeing logs go by and everything else. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I haven't seen that very often. The logs going by and stuff, and just meandering up the river. And I started thinking, man, I really need an airboat, Craig. I mean, we got to really push for that. I need to get. Maybe I start up a GoFundMe for a airboat. What do you think? I don't think they'll go for it. But yeah,
I think I need to talk to Pauline first.
yeah, she's not wanting me to. I have a buddy of mine that has one with I think it's a 351 Ford engine on it, and I think he wants about $5,000 for it. But the thing is pretty nice. I'm like, God, I can't afford it, but I sure do want it. Maybe he'll let me test drive it a few times. You think? Nah. Yeah, pretty good week. It's just not enough time to get out, and with everything going on this week, I'm hoping it's going to settle down a little bit from now, through until fall, at least. I got a lot of projects. We're trying to get another place out here and everything else, but branches are falling out of these trees from the hurricane, that got damaged and stuff, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to take out about 10 more trees out of our front yard anyways, because they're all damaged. The bark's been ripped off and stuff from the other trees falling against them, and now they're starting to look sickly. I'm like, great, now I'm going to have to cut wood for the next month, it seems like. It's just never ending. It's always something. But I'll get out there more often. I want to make a couple videos with this Quest Pro. I may do an area like I was doing before with the AT Pro and stuff like that, go in there with the Bliss tool and do like a 20 by 20 area, then take the Quest in there, and the Pro and the 40, and just see, because you don't know until you put them to the test, so to speak. Not really a comparison video. I just want to see if I'm missing anything, because now I'm paranoid. Because I should have brought the Bliss tool with me. Is probably what I should have done. I always have it with me, but I didn't. On Sunday. I just felt like, man, I'm missing stuff. I have to be missing something down there. There has to be something in that ground at some kind of a depth, 10, 12, 13 inches down, just for the pure age of the property. We're talking almost 200-year-old property, if not more. There's got to be some kind of tractor parts, wagon parts, something. Because I had my discrimination down to 20. On the Quest Pro, which usually at 25 you get cut nails and regular nails too, so I was pretty low on that. I did dig some iron, but I've never really worried about that, Craig. If I can get a repeatable on something that's got some kind of size to it, I don't mind getting that out of the way, because it can be masking up other stuff anyway. That's the way I felt about it. But I just got that feeling. I knew when I left that morning I should have grabbed the V6 just for that, just in case.
I go in there and cherry pick with the V6 at first.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Just put it in toggle 2 at least.
If it's hot like it is, you want to find, the hot spot where you can, then once you start finding some, good items, some good coins or something.
Right.
Something with age on them, then lower your discrimination down to 4, and then.
Yeah, I mean, I should have been finding
signals, but.
I should have been finding wheat pennies anyways. I'm finding stuff from the 20s, 1920s. I should have been finding some wheat pennies, something. I don't know. It floors me sometimes, or maybe it was, and that was another thing. And we don't really talk about this a lot on the show and stuff. But the caretaker of the property, he says, man, I've had a lot of weird stuff happen in the past 3 or 4 months. I said, what do you mean, weird stuff? He goes, I got my head slammed into the wall about 2 months ago. So what do you mean? Somebody in there? He goes, nobody's in the house. Standing there, and the next thing I know, I'm on the floor. I got my head slammed against the wall. Stuff like that, Craig. Gave me the chills right off the bat. I'm like, all right. So he goes, let's not, that was, in one case, usually it just feels like I'm being watched all the time. He goes, I'm on the property sometimes, and I swear somebody's watching me. And he's not losing it or nothing like that. I've known this guy for several years. He's straight up, stand-up guy. And he goes, but I don't tell anybody this stuff because I've had a lot of these little instances. And I said, well, you're dealing with history here. I mean, there's been a lot of activity on this property, and I got, there's people hung from that bridge. I mean, it was a hanging bridge. I mean, you got all kinds of weird, not only, homesteaders, but you got, Indians. There was Indian activity. They're digging arrowheads right in the same area that I'm metal detecting. I mean, the one lady came out, there's a friend of his, and I think she dug 8 arrowheads, and she wasn't digging down, but maybe a foot deep in certain spots, and she was able to find several of them. So, you have Indian activity. Obviously, this is a property from at least back to 1820, so you're dealing with Civil War activity, all the Indian Wars, all that kind of stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't something going on out there, some way. And I've had this feeling, too, when it's not a malevolent feeling, but or anything like that, but it was, maybe it was me. I mean, we've heard a lot of people talk about this on the show in the past where, you get that feeling that, you're not going to find anything. They're not going to let you find anything. Because when you're dealing with EMI and all this kind of stuff, well, the paranormal stuff goes along with it. So maybe, I don't know, I got kind of blocked up a little bit. I was running a recorder. I just took a recorder and I turned it on. After he told me this, I said, well, I set my cell phone up. It has a, recorder on it and stuff. I just turned it on, the recorder on, and set it on one of those limestone rocks. Set it there, and I started metal detecting, and I came back to it. And I haven't found nothing on it, but I figure it was worth a shot. But I guess he maybe wants me to come out there in the evening time or, whatever, and do a little investigation. That'd be kind of different for me anyway, but I know some of the guys in the metal detector are into that paranormal investigations and stuff. Beach Bum was. Yeah, one guy used to hunt with Craig, have him on a few of my videos. He was up in Jacksonville, and he did a lot of paranormal research and stuff like that. They were really into that. So I may try that just for the heck of it. But, you can see where Go ahead, yeah.
There's a YouTube channel called UFO Seekers,
Uh-huh.
and they're not crazy like some of these channels. They're hoping to find, hoping to see one, but they go to Area 51 and camp out, and they see lights, but they go out, sometimes they know it's a satellite, and other times they don't
Right.
know,
Yeah.
it's just but anyway, they got all this equipment, and they got, telescopes and all kinds of, high-powered cameras. They got EMI meters. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of times when they're out there, people stop by because they have on the side of their Hyundai, they got a small SUV that they drive around, and it says UFO Seekers on it. And so they'll be, parked on the side of the road, and all of a sudden people, driving by will see their car, and they'll stop and tell them stuff, and
Right.
say, hey, we saw stuff down here when we were kids, a lot of my neighbors have, and nobody, really talks about it, but, there's always been, talk about stuff happening down there, and they talk about, cabins where paranormal stuff, and so they'll go in there and, set up all kinds of different meters. They got all kinds of different frequencies and everything like that, so
Mm-hmm.
the equipment's getting more and more sophisticated.
Yeah, more technical, yeah.
It's amazing how they were taking pictures, up at the moon at night, and you can, even with not that expensive a telescope, you can get some beautiful views now of the moon through, and tape them, or just
Right.
Some guys are buying like $20,000 telescopes. You can, an amateur can buy one now like that, and they just set it up. My friend set up a telescope in the backyard in infrared and ultraviolet, and we saw it. I was going through it, and you'd see all these things flying by every once in a while, but they're just dots. But then there was a triangle one, and I mean it was definitely a triangle shape, all the way through the video. We kept watching it. It was actually looked like it was in 3 sections.
Really? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and one of the UFOs they report a lot is that TR something. It's alleged that it's a government UFO, actually, made by the government.
Yeah.
But it's it's triangle shaped, and there's been a lot of those seen, in different videos and stuff that people have. But everybody's got a cell phone now, and you can whip it out and start taping, But trouble is a lot of it wasn't as great a quality. Now they're getting better quality, but
right. Well, they had that thing over there with that satellite that was with that one that rocket that was going up and carrying a satellite. I think it was for, I can't remember, it was Facebook or I don't know. There was some kind of, they were setting it off over Kennedy, and it blew up on the launch pad, and they showed that video that whatever it is, coming around at a high rate. I mean, it flew across the screen, but it also looked like it fired something. It's on YouTube. I just can't remember the name of the damn rocket was, but you got stuff. I'm one of those believers that's skeptical. I'm gonna look at something 100 times before I really make a decision on whether it's real or not or whatever. But you got to believe some of this stuff because weird stuff, especially when you know the people, the person, and you know the kind of person they are, and their quirks and stuff like that. This guy's a straight arrow, man. He doesn't, It was, you could tell by the way he was telling me, or I could anyway, that it wasn't something that he talks a lot about people, but he had been staying out this place even before it was almost livable. He had a room set up in there, but they've had to put a roof on it, new chimney, new, a lot of new stuff and fix up stuff and work the land. So you're, a lot of times when you have what I've always heard, you're making changes in a home or redecorating, redoing whatever, it dredges up stuff. And I just told him, I said, you're in the best place for that, brother, because there's a ton of history here. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I said, most of the time I've never heard anybody getting their head slammed against the wall. He goes, well, I woke up on the floor, and he goes, I know I didn't beat my head against the wall myself. I said, no, I'm not doubting you at all. I'm just saying it's not a norm. I mean, I've never felt, like I had to get the heck out of there, really. I've been inside the house and stuff. It has a weird feel to it, but it's nothing malevolent or anything, I didn't think. But
sounds more like a poltergeist.
He really, he was. I mean, this guy's, he's 60. I don't know, 62, 63, about your age, Craig. I mean, he's not he's a very smart guy. He's, he worked construction all his life, done this and that. He's not one of those people that just kind of rattles off stuff like that. Well, we just got sitting there talking a little bit while I was metal detecting. He was telling me, I actually stopped metal detecting. We talked for about 20, 25 minutes, took a little break. And, but yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, you hear about these places and stuff. And, it may have been what was, I'm a believer in that. If they don't want you to find it, you're not going to find it. It's one of those. Howard Hewitt said it the best. I mean, a lot of you guys know him from Dig Fellas and stuff. He comes in there with maybe a more extreme attitude about some of this stuff. He's a big believer in everything and a lot of this kind of thing. And he said he goes in there. He's not out there to take anything from them. He's there to help them, whatever. Maybe that's what I need to do. I don't know. But I just got that, I got home and talked to Pauline for a while and stuff. And, she kind of smiled because, she knows some of this stuff. And she goes, maybe you went in there with the wrong attitude. You went in there trying to find something. You went in there, wanting to dig the place up. And, maybe you didn't go in there with the proper attitude. Maybe you need to go in there with a different attitude. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was coming up with too. Maybe I got to rethink it. Because, like I said, I'm a believer, but I'm a skeptical believer. But I'm also not out there to do any harm either. I don't think any of us are. But when you're dealing with that many different, that many eras of people, just different people, different times, who knows? It'd be kind of cool to get something on film, though, wouldn't it? Maybe I'll rewatch all my footage and see something follow me around. That'd be kind of cool. But maybe they'll tell me where this stuff. I'll find them
to the right spot.
Really, what I started thinking about that on, like this week, and I said, I'd really like to find something that was more like about that house. I mean, something that was directly related to that house, or noticeably something, because it would probably be from one of her ancestors that lived there, more than likely, or whatever in that realm. I thought it'd be kind of cool to let, hey, bring that home. Say, hey, this is a brooch or something like that, Craig, something interesting that she can kind of relate to too. And she's kind of jealous right now, but she goes, well, you got one of my properties now. I said, I didn't even know you. Pauline has a lot of properties she doesn't even tell me about, because she knows I'll go crazy and want to go there. It's kind of like a thing with us. She has her spots to hunt, and I got my spots to hunt. So I kind of encroached on one of hers, but she had never been out there to actually put a detector to the ground. But there's some of them that she kind of hers only. But yeah, I was just happy to be out there detecting a little bit. But yeah, I'll be detecting this place for 10 years. I mean, just this 450 acres. Depending on what kind of activity I have to hit all that. You got to work a long time to do that. And then I got another 1,000 acres. Literally, he told me about a cabin too, Craig. It's the next property he owns up. It's probably about we'll say about 600 acres away. He goes, yeah, there's you can tell where there was an old cabin there. It still has the bottom foundation or whatever, the bottom logs, maybe 2 logs up. It's all rotted away now, but you could tell it was actually cut and stacked. But he goes, put up like a log cabin was. He said, I can hunt that property too, but I got to get out there and kind of figure out where it was and everything. But it's it used to be a lot of woods around there, but it's a field up there now. They've logged it out and they made it into a hay field or whatever they were growing at the time. But the cabin's still there, and he doesn't think anybody's ever been out there, because it's almost in the center of his other property. I kind of go up, I don't know, maybe 50 acres over, and then I go through a gate, and it's on top of a hill, maybe about 400 yards from the river. So it's kind of a great location anyways. So I may try to hit that too. I just don't want to it's so much property to pick out. You almost have to throw a dart at a dartboard of a map of it just to figure out where you want to hunt at. Because it's been so many, almost 200 years of history on that property, around that property. So, it's kind of a process of elimination. I mean, some days I may not find anything. Some days I may have a great day and find all kinds of stuff. It just depends on where the activity is. So, kind of, take my time and do it, I guess. But, Sunday was kind of a bust in a way, but I did find a couple, like I said, a couple of things that were at least period, whether, just because they're iron doesn't matter, still a relic. He was happy to get him. He goes, I'll display this thing right here on the, on the back porch. He has on the side of the wall or something like that. I'll put that up there, and I'll put up this carburetor thing. He was really happy just to get the relics, the different things. Even you could tell they're old iron. They're not anything in the last 100 years anyways, I don't think. Just the way the iron looks, it almost looks like some of this stuff looks like pig iron. Like it was before the Civil War, before, where they just melted whatever they had to, blacksmithed it and stuff. I found one area, I think that's where the blacksmith was, or he worked out of, because it's just so much iron around. It's like about a 30 by 30 area, and it's just solid, just all kinds of weird irony kind of sounds to it. So, I work out from there. Maybe I can get in there with the bliss tool and kind of see if there's anything else worth digging in there. Maybe unmask it a little bit. So that's going to be my goal for Saturday, if I can get out there and kind of just move out away from that cracker house and see what I can find towards the fields and the woods alongside of it and stuff. I guess is the only way to kind of do it. Just kind of go through and do that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, we were... Shoot, I'm losing my voice already, Craig. These allergies are horrible, man. I was just reading on here, Larry Stewart says detecting Florida in the summer is a contact sport. Yeah, no doubt. Usually the mosquitoes are really bad and stuff along the river and stuff. They weren't bad for me, but the horse flies and the spiders, and I think I got a couple shots of the banana spiders. I think they're, a lot of states have them, but yeah, these things are pretty ominous looking. They won't really do nothing to you. They're not poisonous or nothing like that. Seen a lot more snakes too, so just black snakes and stuff. I never saw any water moccasins, so I was happy about that. Just kind of kind of go with it and see what I can find. But a lot of deer anyway. See maybe we'll see some hogs out. I saw where the hogs are rooting up everything too, kind of making my job easier. And I can't get them to fill in their holes, so I don't know. They just won't listen. They're rooting everything up in the area, right around where that foundation was too. So I may find something through there. Just got to keep on hitting it. What are your plans for this weekend? Are you going to be able to get out at all?
Well, yeah, I'll probably go out in the yard and hunt some more. I kind of getting a little bit dry now, but.
I didn't know if you were going to try that log cabin. Oh no, you didn't get permission from the landowner on that cabin house or whatever down the street from you or whatever.
Well, actually, I talked to the guy that the brother-in-law that cuts the grass and keeps the property, because the owners don't come but a couple times a year. But
right.
I talked to him the other day for probably about an hour and a half, and he was telling his friend, he said, "Hey, they dug up 2 cans of gold coins in that yard next door." And, so he knew quite a bit about metal detecting, but he'd never done it. And then he was saying, "Yeah, come on over anytime you want and hunt in that yard,"
Mm-hmm.
giving me permission, even though he doesn't own the place. But I'd rather get it from the people that own the place. But I got him interested, so I think next time I see him, I'll say, "Hey,
right.
I'll hunt the yard. You can follow right next to me and see what I'm doing, and I'll give you everything I find. But I just want to tape it and stuff. But or I'll bring another machine over there and show them how to do it."
Mm-hmm.
But I met a guy up the other way on the other side of the street, and he has like an old kind of log cabin. It's kind of a longer one. It's probably about 4 times bigger than most of the small cabins.
Right.
But they're starting a business like antiques and knickknacks and stuff in the house. And he's got this huge garden. The front of his house is just beautiful. I always go down there, and he's got flowers coming up all the time. And supposedly a couple neighbors had told me that, he knows more about flowers and plants than just about anybody around. And so I guess he opened today, and I was walking by, but I couldn't, I should have gone in then, but we got to talk, and I introduced myself and told him I lived over there, and we got in talking, and I told him about metal detecting and stuff, and he was real interested. And so he said that he was pretty, I told him about the bottles, and he said, "Oh, man, I'd love to see your bottles." He goes, "I used to collect bottles."
So you got
I only collected the old ones. And I said, "Wow." I said, most of ours come from like 1879 to about, 20s and 30s, the embossed ones,
Right.
So, he said that back in this town, back in the up until about the 1940s, right around 1940, all the houses had privies.
Oh, wow.
And he said he has one that's from probably the 1930s in his backyard, but he said there's probably several others.
Right.
And I said, yeah. So they move them around.
Yeah, every couple of years or whatever.
Change location.
Yeah.
But he's got a huge garden in his back, and he said, "You can just take this little walkway around my house and just go back there anytime you want, look around."
Cool.
So I said, "Oh, wow, that's cool. I didn't even know he had all this stuff back there, So,
yeah.
I just kind of, every time I meet somebody, I, would get to talk, and then I always drop metal detecting just to see what their reaction is, and relic hunting, and tell them what I found in my yard. I can get,
You sit down and talk to somebody, and I've had that happen many times. It's like you have, Craig. Get talking, all of a sudden, "Oh yeah, you should try our backyard. You should try down the street here. My brother owns this property, or so and so owns it." In it, all of a sudden you got a place to hunt. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Larry was talking.
Well, the guy across the street is kind of strange, but his wife's kind of nice. I get along with her, but I kind of told him about it, and he, he thought he said he'd think about it, but I could tell he wasn't. But then about a couple weeks later, he comes running across the street and starts talking to me. And the first thing he mentions is metal detection.
Hey, got the juices flowing.
So I got it in his head,
Yeah.
And I told him some of the history. He had some of it, and now I know the house is even older than he thinks it is.
Oh, wow.
Actually, it's from the 1700s. But, and the guy down the street also told me about another blacksmith shop that was on his street.
Right.
So it's pretty interesting. This guy, knew quite a bit of history in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy that cuts the grass, he's a golfer. And I said, "You play a lot?" And he goes, "Every chance I get."
Yeah.
He's like 72 years old, but he cuts grass all over the place as a business. And he's got the big rig he rides and stuff. But anyway, he actually lives probably 15 or 20 miles from me in West Virginia.
Right.
So he was telling me there's all kinds of places over there I could probably try. And so I, just so much rural area. I haven't even really, driven around that much. Mike's driven around more than I did. Like if we have any kind of yard trash or anything like that, there's so many landfills and dumps around here, and they're all free. You just drive in, and they tell you where to dump it. In Alexandria, you had to pay.
Oh, yeah.
By the truckload, and it
I
was fairly expensive, and you had to wait in line. So many trucks.
Yeah.
But out here, it's just totally different.
That's pretty cool that they have those places, because everywhere else I go around here, it's always $14 for I don't know, 10 bags of trash, whatever it is. They don't care, and it costs you money every time you go there. Now to Brooksville, if you live in Brooksville, you can go and take stuff to the dump as long as you have it's like by county or something like that. If you have a Hernando County plate or whatever like that, or a license, or you live there or whatever, you can take stuff down to the dump. It doesn't cost you anything. But in Sumter County, I got to pay to have, whatever hauled off or take it to the construction dump or whatever. It's weird down here about that, but it's nice that you have places like that around where you live where you can just kind of take stuff and get rid of it, whether yard trash or whatever else.
This is another funny one. The guy that I went to school with, he's on Facebook, and he shared an article the other day to me and said, "Laugh out loud, what do you think of this article?" And so it was about Alexandria, where I used to live, and it's rated the ninth most wanted to be the ninth most best place to live in the United States, and it dropped from 7th to 9th. And they said the only two negatives are affordability and accessibility, which means taxes and traffic. That's their way of saying it.
Right.
And I said, oh my God! I said, those two things alone would kill me. I have, my brother's kind of sentimental about the area, and I don't have one sentiment at all about it anymore. I don't even like being there. It's like I'm done with it. I'd rather live out in the country where it's, it's just, God, it's just so nice. No traffic. People seem to be nicer. Everybody's more friendly.
Yeah.
The prices are cheaper on a lot of stuff.
Well, you were pretty aggravated when I was up there just from the traffic. People parking in your parking spot and everything else, and your driveway if you let them, and it was like, what the hell's going on up there? But that's big city life for you. It's this different world.
But it just keeps getting more, worse and worse.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get better. I mean,
no.
It's got. There were several streets where we used to be able to go out and cut through the neighborhood to get over to this other road.
Mm-hmm.
Now they blocked it off because there was too many people cutting through the neighborhood to get an advantage in the traffic.
Right.
So we used to see at rush hour, it'd be 100 cars an hour coming through the neighborhood, or more, just steady streams of them coming through the neighborhood. And then a block away is King Street, and that was like, I think 35,000 cars an hour. Or something.
It's crazy. I know that much.
No, 13,000 cars an hour, and that's rush hour on 2 lanes.
I might have two cars an hour go by my house. I don't know. Yeah, it gets crazy.
Yeah, I live on Main Street, and right now there's maybe a car every 10 minutes now. The traffic starts about maybe 6:30 in the morning, and then about by 9 you don't hear much anymore, and then it's 30 miles an hour, so it's not like people are whizzing by your house making a lot of noise anyway, but it's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
We can sit back and the other thing is there's no light pollution out here, and we can sit out there and look. My friend was going, "What in the heck is that thing up there in the sky with a handle on it?" And I said, "What are you talking about, the Big Dipper?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, that's it." And he goes, "Look how you can see it, out here." And I said, "I know it. You can see forever out here almost. You can almost see the Milky Way."
I'm trying to remember this interstate I was on. I think I was coming through Arizona, going up into the mountains of Rockies, and it was one of the most memorable sky, whatever, at night, the stars and everything that I can remember. I stopped in a pull-off area, rest area or whatever, and got out of my truck, and I looked up, and it was like you could reach up and touch the stars. And I had never, all the places I've been at and stuff, it was just so clear, so you could see, like, it seemed like 1,000 more stars than you could even from my house down here. I'm out in the sticks here, but, it was like you could almost reach up and touch them. Something to be said about that. Just one of the most beautiful things I ever saw. And, I saw a lot of stuff like that when I was driving, but, I was out there for 18 and a half years or something. I've been in places where, like Tombstone. We used to stop at Tombstone just about every trip, Tombstone, Arizona, and me and a buddy of mine were really into the cowboy shooting and all that stuff, the target shooting and stuff. And we'd stop in there, but we go in there and hang out, whatever. And even at night, we go in there like 2:00 in the morning and walk the streets of Tombstone. I mean, it's like a regular town anyways. I mean, of course, it's historical, but they don't say much. You can walk around, no big deal, but at least you could. I don't know what it is now, but it's something, man, you could just feel the history, feel the, just all the sights and the sounds when there's nobody around really. The street, the sidewalks are kind of rolled up. It's kind of a neat feeling or whatever, walking through a place like that, or seeing being out in Montana or North Dakota or, wherever out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. I've always liked that myself. I mean, I was just sitting there reading on the chat. Larry put up his, the hardest part of detecting is not finding stuff. The other hard part is finding a place to metal detect or to find stuff. He's about right on that. I've had more places that, man, I think we all have. I mean, all the history's there. You got, historical information. You got this and that. And the other thing, you go out there and you really don't find anything at all. And there's, usually they'll get filled in or scraped or whatever. But man, it's a disappointing feeling to know that, you think there's going to be at least a few good targets in there, and you just hunt, and sometimes there's just not anything there to find. That gets disheartening to me when you and it happens to everybody. You don't find treasure every time you go out there, but it's one of those things, Craig, where you've done your research and you're not finding anything from that era at all, and really, other than the bridge part. I mean, I didn't find anything from that era, but it's I don't know, you just go in there with I go in there with a totally, amped up attitude. I'm gonna, search it. I'm gonna dig whatever I can dig, whatever reasonably sounds even remotely good, I'm going to dig it. Once you could find that one spot where you got some activity and you can work your way out around it, that's the hardest part down here, especially. I think he lives in Gainesville, and he's talking about, some of the places up there, stories he's heard. So there was a story about a house near Gainesville back in the 1850s. There was always strange things happening. The family repainted the home back to the original color, and all the strange stuff stopped. Well, anytime you do renovations on an old home, like your house in Alexandria, Craig, that was built in 1905 and stuff. But you had a carriage house and everything there, and I'm sure there, in that neighborhood, there looked like there was some older homes too, and you never know where stuff's
going to happen. Well, I live right on top of a Civil War camp.
Yeah,
that's been there for 3 years or so. Put some, Masonic temple, and my grandfather was up there in 1922 when they put the Keystone in.
Right.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But it's the highest part in Tidewater, Virginia. So that when people first came into this area, that they'd probably climb that hill the first thing just to see what was around them. It's a commanding view. We used to just from my yard, I used to see into Maryland from across the river. Mm-hmm. But then they put in these gigantic luxury condominiums, and I mean right before I left, I was down there and dropping somebody off at the Metro, I believe, and I looked up and they had these decks on the side of these things that were just tremendous. I mean, they were, all glassed in and, probably 30 some stories up. And you could tell some of them were took up half of the whole floor. They were probably several $1 million each.
Oh, yeah.
But that's just the way Alexander's just, they keep going up because they don't have anywhere to go sideways anymore.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you're packed up pretty good. I guess Larry also said on here, he's putting stuff up on chat, the really cool targets are the ones that have context. To be able to place an object with a place, time, and especially a person is the great feeling. And I agree with you, Larry, 100% on that. It's like that carburetor piece. I mean, with the company name and the date and I can place that. I know right when that was made or whatever, or would have patented and all that stuff. Or even a brooch or a button, a Civil War button or a bullet, or there's all the character of the find. Some of these coin, we talk about it once in a while, these guys find, these coins with holes in them, they've been holed. But a coin dealer don't give a crap about that. But for us, that's, somebody took the time to do that. Why did they do that? Who carried it? Why is it found on the ground? Did it just fall off or whatever? There's a story behind that. These objects we find that to most people are just maybe, I don't know, like the D-shackle I found. That thing is 38 pounds. When's the last time one of you all found a 38-pound D-shackle, from a riverboat? I mean, come on. To me, that's character. That shows something there, for me anyways. That's what I enjoy finding, the stuff that hasn't been touched by human hands in 200 years or 150 years, and you're pulling it out of the ground and you're saving it. That's to me, that's a really good feeling. I mean, I think a lot of y'all are like that when it comes to finding old stuff. Nelson on here said you wanted to know about, I'm sorry, guys, a week or two ago. Oh, I was talking, remember, Craig, I was talking about that Our Colored Heroes medal that I found several years ago. That's what I found, Nelson. It was Our Colored Heroes medallion, or it's about the size of a silver dollar. It was made of brass, and it had I think it was dated 1919 or 1918. It was at the end of World War I. And these medals were given out to the African American soldiers in New Orleans. Because of segregation, they couldn't march, I guess, in the victory parade and all that stuff with the white soldiers. So they were given these medallions, these little brass medals. It had a ribbon on it originally, and it said, "Our Colored Heroes," and I'm trying to remember what it has on the back. I'll have to put a photo. There is a photo on Facebook under Derek Ask on my Facebook page, but it's way back. I'll have to repost it up. But there's only 75 known to exist, is what I read, all the research I did on it, and there's only been 5 photos of different ones, and mine was one of the 5 that I could find, and I looked just about everywhere. But I'd essentially given it to a guy that had a museum out west, or he's wanting to start up one, whatever. And, he ended up sending me, some money for it. And I semi regret getting rid of it because I don't sell really anything. I mean, Craig's the same way. I get rid of my clad and like if I go to the beach and I find some, scrap gold, like broken chain or broken whatever. I mean, I just take it and recycle it or whatever, sell it. But if it's like any kind of historical, I don't know, I don't even get rid of my wheat pennies or nothing like that, or I don't know, Indian heads. I don't sell anything. That's just my preference. I mean, some people do, and that, all power to them. I've seen whole collections go. As a matter of fact, I had a friend of mine that sold his entire collection of Civil War items that he'd found himself over the years, and kind of regrets it now, obviously, because you're not going to probably find a lot of that stuff. I found that our Colored Heroes medal in what is now an elementary school, but back in the 1800s, it was a college, and then went to a high school. Had a full track and bleachers and the whole shebang, but none of that's there anymore. Just the middle school or the elementary schools are now. Matter of fact, they even paved over the parking lot. It was a dirt parking lot from the 1800s until now, up until about 2 years ago. They literally moved all the stuff out of there and paved it over. And I found a compass there from right around the World War I. It was right next to, probably within about a foot or two of where I found our Colored Heroes medal. And I found, Barber dimes and Mercury dimes and I don't think I ever found any Barber quarters, but I found all kinds of, even a thermometer that was dated 1920, the copper part of it, Craig, where they had the, it's the temperature and everything on it, had all writing on it and stuff. I keep all that stuff. I don't sell any of it. But that was the one thing I did inadvertently, I guess, sell. The guy gave me money for it, even though I told him that I didn't really, want anything. I was donating it to him more than anything else for what he was doing. I don't know, Craig, you really don't sell anything either, but I think you think the same way I do. It's something you'll never find again, or you.
I've given stuff away, and like one guy, I was going to give him all the bullets I found, and then he ended up, giving me all these silver coins and stuff for it.
Oh yeah, it's just kind of bargaining back and forth.
He insisted that I, because he was in shock. I dug, I think I dug like 30 bullets the first half an hour, 45 minutes. I was just popping them out of the ground left and right, and tiny little. It made my yard look over in Alexandria look big, but I even found right next to his doorstep, I found a round ball right up against the wall. But when they knocked out they took out his side yard, built a house there. I found I think it was an 1805 large cent down about. I was down in the foundation, and about 2.5 feet down, I got a signal just sweeping along the walls of the foundation. Mm-hmm. They just cut all the dirt out, and I just jumped down in there, and I think I got one signal, maybe two. I think I might have gotten a flat button.
Yeah.
I know I got that. I got an 80 signal, and then when it fell out of the ground in the dirt, it was reading like 90 something. But it's amazing how sometimes how deep stuff gets down in the ground, especially
God, yeah.
in that neighborhood. It's like my brother tore up the porch, and he took and he sent me a message. He goes, "Hey, we just took all the floorboards. You might want to check the dirt underneath."
Heck yeah!
And we'd had a boat under there for years, and I ended up selling it to my neighbor about 2 years ago because I knew I was going to have to get rid of that boat, under
Right.
there and stuff, and because we're going to be, getting rid of the house or whatever. But first thing I did after he pulled all his stuff out of there, I went up under there with the detector. I took 2 detectors up there and just crawled around under there, and I couldn't get a signal, not a single signal, no pennies, nothing.
Really? Wow. It's really disheartening in a way, isn't it? It just takes the wind right out of your sails when there should have been something.
Yeah, I know it. I thought, there's got to be something under there, but it looked like it was kind of clayish dirt.
Yep.
So it might have been from the foundation itself.
Mm-hmm.
When they'd taken all the dirt out of the basement. But my neighbor diagonally across, right next to Temple fence, to the gate there, when he had his basement dug out, the guy found bottles and just tons of stuff.
Right.
And he didn't know I was in the metal detecting, and by the time I found out, it was all over.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, darn it, I would have told you, I would have let you go on down in there. He
Yeah.
said the other guy actually brought a metal detector down in there and was finding stuff. And I said, darn.
Yep.
I didn't know that. But I said, and he said something. I said, there's a fort right there, almost like in your backyard in the middle of the Temple Field there.
Yeah.
He didn't know that. So I've told neighbors, I said, there's a fort over there. And they go, there was no battles around here. And I said, no, they camped here.
Yeah.
And people don't know that. I mean, you don't see any sign of it, but Washington, D.C. area, they camped all on both sides of the river. It was one of the biggest cavalry camps. They had like, I don't know, 20, 25,000 people there. They had like 20-some thousand horses.
Wow. Yeah, you should be finding tack everywhere. All the damn rosettes and stuff. God.
That was the railroad hub. They expanded the railroad hub.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you a funny story. They used to have a round table where they could turn the track in a circle, and they had different offshoots on it.
Right. And
it was a big iron turntable,
Mm-hmm.
And when that area was, my great-grandmother lived about a block away in a 1800 house. And they basically tore that whole area up, all his houses, everything, and pretty much leveled it. But that was the big train station with the turntable. And when they were digging, I guess the archaeologists found this turntable, and so they didn't know what to do with it, so they reburied it and just built right over top of it. So it's still under there.
Oh, okay.
And you go, God, that would have been a great thing to put somewhere. I mean,
yeah.
I it dates back to probably the 1850s.
Mm-hmm.
So, now they're finding all these ships, and they're acting like maybe they were. I think they were wrecks. I think they were just scuttled. That's what they did when instead of repairing a lot of these boats when they got old, they just it was too much money and too hard to do, so they just scuttled them.
Yeah.
So they're finding all these wooden boats, and then they're making a big deal out of it. But there's nothing found on them. They're just the boat itself.
Right, right.
So they wouldn't have left all their goods on it. They would have just, unloaded the boat and then probably knocked a hole in the bottom and let it sink.
Yeah, pretty much. Scuttled it.
But they're spending a whole bunch of money on that, and I don't know. So kind of I don't know. It's just it doesn't make sense. We got, just in Alexandria alone, I think we got 5 forts, something like that. So instead of just having a little sign there, they ought to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I know where, it's like this, this landowner was, I'd love to, he thinks he knows where the bridge was, like laid along the river, and it kind of fell into the river right there along the edge. He thinks it is. So I guess I got to get into the river a little bit, probably this fall or winter. I won't get in there, too much, and, I just got to watch the gators and stuff. It's kind of wild out here anyway. But to find that bridge, I said, well, if you were looking for bridge parts, it's literally the same design as Burnout Bridge was in Croom, Florida, Hog Island they call it. And I actually know where that bridge is. They took it down. I know who has it. I know it's in a field. I said, if you really want to rebuild that bridge, I can get you the parts for it, at least, the metal parts for it, because I know it was almost identical to the one, because it was literally taken from that property down there in Hog Island and moved up to Ensenada, by Pauline's great-grandfather or whatever. But, I was telling him, I said, it's still there to find. I still, you can still, if we can get that out of the river, if it's even remotely good enough to put up there, but I got replacement parts for you. And he's like all getting excited and everything, because this guy, he has a lot of property. He lives down in St. Petersburg, and he's a very quiet guy, but he loves history, and he loves the idea, of all this property he has and finding out what was on it, who was there, that kind of thing. He's never even, I don't think he's ever used a metal detector, but he's a big research guy. He loves to research stuff and look stuff up, and he had a lot of information, and he actually even had that article that I was telling you all about that property, that, the bridge was gone before 1900 and everything, and I showed him proof of it, that it was still there in 1960, and he's like, oh my God, where'd you find this at? I said, there's not much information. It's not like Alexandria where you can just kind of look up something and you can find out information. I mean, even the land records around here from way back I don't think a lot of them exist, because the courthouse burned down in 1903. So, it's just, he's really into doing all this stuff, or wanting to try to do it. And so, I have that for him. But, you got Larry on here again. He put up, I have a couple of 1800 coins which have holes in them. Most of us have grown up after World War II. Before then, most of the clothes we had made or whatever, handmade, didn't have pockets. Often the holes were put there for a string as a poor man's purse. Nothing I find is for sale. Well, hats off to you, Larry. I mean, you can't replace a lot of this stuff. You find, that's individual to that item you found. You're not going to find another one like it.
Pretty much up until 1840, 1850, pants just, they didn't have pockets in pants.
Right.
And they basically had a little pouch that went on your belt or
a little bag, a little leather, whatever.
Yeah, and then a lot of times they'd string a lot of the coins together.
Yeah.
With a string, but I even saw there was a guy that bought a Confederate colonel's jacket for like $40,000, and he was examining it after he got it home and felt something in the lining, and there was 3 Seat at Liberty quarters that were threaded in.
That's cool. Now that's cool. I like that.
what they did back then is they would put money inside hide it inside their clothing, so if they got captured, they'd have money to
barter with,
maybe bribe somebody or buy food or whatever when they were in prison. But it's always nice to have some coinage.
Oh yeah, have a little dinero.
But or just to say keep it, and then I'm sure even soldiers probably stole from each other back then.
It's
always thieves.
Hey, times were tough. I mean, that's what I was trying to explain to this guy. This was wild country down here. I mean, you're talking 1820, 1836 was Dade battlefield. All soldiers died, got massacred, but the army was doing the same thing, and went through essentially. Well, there was a third Seminole Indian War, didn't last long, but just it was a rough area. I mean, cattle rustlers and everything else.
Frontier justice.
That's what it was down here.
Through the mid 1800s, even. And if they had right and wrong, and if you did something really bad, bang, you're dead. Yeah. Or you're hung from a tree.
Or they didn't like what you did. I mean, Pauline we have it in her family Bibles. Her 4 greats grandfather back then, his plantation house was burned down 7 times only because he didn't comply with the way that others treated their slaves. He treated his slaves good and the best, for that time, very good, and gave them a lot more rights, and he treated them like people, not like property. And for that, well, the other plantation owners would burn his place down, but it would be rebuilt within a month. His workers would get together, obviously, and build it back up again. But yeah, I mean, he dealt with that. I mean, it was kind of like, complying with the way the law of the land, so to speak. That's the way I gathered it, anyways. But he never let them see you sweat. You just rebuild, redo whatever you have to do to survive. But I mean, the more I read into it, the more information and stuff. Yeah, it's like it's probably like this most places too at that time. But I mean, Florida was probably a crazy, with weird stuff going on down here. You think about, you can't even walk. Well, I don't even know how much it was growing up back then. Yeah, we have roads and stuff, but if you go in some of these, even my property when I bought it, Craig, you couldn't. I mean, you can get in here, but I mean, good God, I mean, I took out 40 some odd trees off just one side of my 1 acre lot. That tells you how thick it was. And that's not counting palmetto trees and the bushes and all the ground cover and the vines. And I mean, nature will take over a place down here within a couple of years. I mean, I have a problem with that all the time, trying to keep the vines back and, all this stuff that's going to, mess up my yard or, whatever. I try to keep it, trimmed back. But yeah, down here, stuff probably take it over pretty quick. Well, even Chernobyl, they did. I watched a documentary about that. The nature's taking it over, man. The buildings are just skeletons for the most part. Things are, animals are there again, and plants and everything are taking it over. And that's only been, well, I guess it's been about 30 years now. Something like that, Craig, right? I think Chernobyl, I can't remember the date of it, but anyway.
Yeah, probably around 30 years.
30 years, but I mean, they were just showing how it, Mother Nature will take it back over. She'll take back what she wants. And so, yeah, I mean, just, getting around down here, it'd be like Louisiana or, I guess, Alabama, probably the same, anywhere along the coastline. Probably just a mess trying to get through for the most part, unless there was a lot of people around that area. Down here, I'm just saying, like her family owned the entire county, so I mean, yeah, there wasn't, the cattle, they had a lot of cattle down here and stuff back then, and, that was the main, that's where Webster cattle auction, I think that's where it started. I can't remember when it started, but I mean, I know it was in, at least the 1800s anyways, or early 1900s. I think it's when they started that up. But, yeah, it's just the wild, wild west down here back then, so you got to kind of figure all that out. Everything gets grown up. How do you find a road then? A path or whatever, sometimes you can, but I never knew there was a stagecoach road that went between our properties up until one of the neighbors had found some stuff and then did some research, and we found it on a survey map of all things. So, you might have it right next door to you and don't even know it. Kind of like your neighbor, Craig, didn't have any idea how old his house was. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm probably going to wrap this thing up for the night now. It's already 9:45 and I'm beaten. I have to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, now I got the normal VFW post stuff going on tomorrow and everything. So I want to get up early and get that done so I can have everything done tomorrow so I can go out metal detecting on Saturday. It sounds like fun to me.
Oh, we got War of 1812, Don't Tread on Me, and British flags all up and down our street. And it's Founders Day on Saturday.
Oh, that's
Patriots
cool.
Day. So I was wondering, I did a little video and I put it on Facebook. Was asking people, how come all these flags are out here? What's this? I know it's some kind of, holiday or something, but I don't know which one it was. So some people from Middletown that have a Facebook site told me that's what it was. So I thought that was pretty. They're going to have a parade. They're going to have, I think, 2 reenactments. So,
that's cool. I always like the reenactments.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the Dade
Yeah,
Battlefield one coming up pretty soon too.
Yeah, in October they have one at Belle Grove's Cedar Creek Battlefield. And last year, somebody sabotaged, put 2 pipe bombs on it, and closed the whole thing down because
idiots.
it's right after all that statue stuff in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And, man, I talked to a guy the other day. He saw my hat and said something, and I said, "Yeah, I'm big into the Civil War stuff." And he goes, "I was a reenactor, you know, and we were there last year." And I said, "Oh man," I said, "I couldn't believe what they did, you know." And he goes, "Yeah, we're coming." He said, "Everybody's coming back this year."
Good.
He said, "We're not going to be stopped." So right after it happened, I think about a day after it happened, I was driving by the battlefield to go to the food line, and I looked up, I almost wrecked a car. I saw 4 guys metal detected right there in the middle of the battlefield. And there was this big crowd of people and police and fire department people. And, I said, "Oh my God, they're probably looking for pipe bombs." And that's what it was.
I strongly dislike people that do that.
They had to turn away 35,000 people that were going to come. I mean, it's a huge event for the town and everything, and then for that whole area. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, and they got vendors and stuff for the kids to do, and you know, reenactments, and
they were really catch cool. A guy.
No, they don't know who did it. They have no idea.
Yeah, I have a real strong dislike for idiots.
People, I mean, you know, somebody's sneaky like that, dropping stuff on the ground, and I don't know. That's pretty sick, though. You know,
it is. It is.
You know, somebody could get, you know, shrapnel in them if something like that blows up in a crowd or something.
Yeah, they don't care.
Like a terrorist. They're like terrorists.
Yeah, they are. They are. You know, I could see it. You know, just in that situation, those people are there for a reenactment. Come on, get a life. That's the way I look at it. By the way, Chernobyl was in April 26th, 1986. Mr. Bill Marsh, our encyclopedia on hardcore metal detecting, he always comes up with all the answers. That man is fast. But it was 1986 for Chernobyl accident. So I guess, I was 16. I wasn't really worried about Chernobyl, but I did hear about it. I was more into the girls and all that kind of stuff at that age. But, yeah, it's 32 years ago, something like that.
I was 33 or something, I think.
Yeah. I'm a baby compared to you guys. Well, a lot of our listeners are 55 and over, so.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, I got probably wrap it up for tonight, Craig. Guys, thanks. You know, Nelson and Larry and Bill Marsh and you guys on chat right there, and a lot of good information. It was fun. You know, I need to talk to Larry more. I didn't realize you were in my neck of the woods, so to speak. You're right up the road from me. I'm right down here in Bushnell, Florida. So maybe, you know, I'm thinking you're probably, maybe you'll put it on here too. Are you with the club up there? Where Greg Pompano and all them up there in Ocala, I think it is Ocala Hunt Club. I can't remember where I posted it up at, but I guess he's going to do it. And of course, the phone's going to start ringing now. Sorry, guys. But anyways, Craig, we'll kind of wrap this thing up for tonight. Let me grab this phone real fast. And well, Craig, why don't you talk for a minute or two? I think this is from the Post. All right.
Well, why don't we just close the show?
I don't know if I guess I was having the button on. I got my wife on the other phone, guys. I'll get back with you guys on Saturday night. Probably wrap up the show for tonight. Thanks for listening, and get out there, keep digging, and God bless.